From camels to kingdoms, how Saudi Arabia was really born. What if I told you that one of the most powerful royal families in the world started with a preacher on the run and a tribal chief with a dream? How did a desert alliance forged in 1744 between a fiery theologian and a bold chieftain lead to the creation of a kingdom that now controls the world's most coveted resource, oil? Why did the British Empire secretly arm a desert warrior during World War I? What made the House of Saud turn on its own holy warriors? And how did a prince climb palm trees to reclaim his throne, only to later dine with Roosevelt and Churchill? This is not just history. It's a saga of betrayal, ambition, divine alliances, and billion-dollar yachts. From sandstorms to skyscrapers, from camel raids to global diplomacy, the rise of Saudi Arabia is a tale so wild, even Hollywood couldn't script it better. So sit tight, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how a family turned a patch of desert into a global empire, and why their story still shapes the fate of the Middle East today. And hey, before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe, follow, and smash that notification bell so you never miss another jaw-dropping story from history's hidden vaults. In the sleepy oasis town of Diriyah, where the goats outnumbered the people and the sand had more personality than the local politics, a chieftain named Mohammed bin Saud ruled with a firm hand and a decent beard. Life was simple, until one day a fiery theologian named Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab came knocking, fresh off being kicked out of Uyayna for preaching that people should stop worshipping saints, decorating tombs, and basically having any fun. Wahhab was the kind of man who'd cancel your birthday party for being too spiritually extravagant. But Saud saw potential. You bring the fire and brimstone, I'll bring the swords, he said, probably. And thus, in 1744, they formed a pact. Wahhab would be the imam, Saud the emir, and together they'd purify Islam across Arabia. Think of it as a spiritual startup, Wahhabism Inc., with aggressive expansion plans. Fast forward a few decades and the duo's descendants had gone full throttle. The Emirate of Diriyah was no longer a humble oasis, it was a desert empire. They seized Mecca and Medina, the holiest cities in Islam, and then did the unthinkable. They declared the Ottoman Sultan unfit to be caliph. That's like telling the Pope he's not Catholic enough. The Ottomans, who had been sipping Turkish coffee and minding their empire, suddenly snapped to attention. Send the army, they said. Not just any army. 50,000 troops led by Ibrahim Pasha, the Ottoman Empire's answer to Liam Neeson in Taken. His mission? I will find you, and I will crush your emirate. The siege was brutal. Diriyah held out for months, but eventually, the Ottomans broke through. The city was leveled, Wahhabist scholars were executed, and the Emir Abdullah bin Saud was dragged to Istanbul for a public beheading. But not before being forced to listen to lute music, which Wahhabism strictly forbade. Imagine dying to the sound of your least favorite Spotify playlist. His head was tossed into the Bosphorus, and the Ottomans declared victory. Wahhabism was crushed. The House of Saud was finished, or so they thought. From the ashes of Diriyah, Turki bin Abdullah, grandson of the original Saud, escaped the carnage and went full desert ninja. After years in hiding, he emerged and founded the second Saudi state in Riyadh. The Ottomans were too busy elsewhere, and Turkey's son, Faisal, kept the flame alive. But in 1891, the rival Rashidi tribe said, not so fast. They defeated Abdul Rahman bin Faisal, the last ruler of the second state, and drove him into the desert. He fled with his family, including his son Abdulaziz, to Kuwait, where they lived in exile, licking their wounds and plotting revenge. Abdul Rahman gave up on politics and became a spiritual leader. But his son? Oh, his son was cooking something big. On the night of his 27th birthday, Abdulaziz ibn Saud, known in the West as Ibn Saud, decided to give himself the ultimate gift. Riyadh. With 60 men, including cousins and a half-brother, he launched a daring raid. Using tilted palm trees as ladders, yes, really, they scaled the walls of Riyadh and slaughtered the Rashidi governor before breakfast. It was bold. It was brutal. It was brilliant. With Riyadh reclaimed, Abdulaziz founded the third Saudi state, reviving the Emirate of Nejd. But he wasn't done. As World War I raged across Europe, the Arabian Peninsula was having its own drama. Abdulaziz ibn Saud, the desert tactician with a flair for conquest and a beard that could intimidate a cactus, saw an opportunity. The Ottoman Empire, his longtime nemesis, was crumbling like stale baklava. Enter the British Empire, who were desperate for allies in the region. They looked at Ibn Saud and thought, he hates the Ottomans. We hate the Ottomans. Let's be friends. So they showered him with munitions, gold, and polite telegrams. Armed to the teeth and married to half the desert, seriously, his marriage diplomacy was legendary. Ibn Saud turned his sights on Mecca, ruled by the Hashemites for over 700 years. In 1925, he conquered the city, ending their reign and sending shockwaves through the Islamic world. The House of Saud now held Islam's holiest sites. That's like winning the spiritual jackpot. But not everyone was thrilled. The Ikhwan, Wahhabist warriors who had helped Ibn Saud conquer Arabia, saw his new British ties and fancy rifles as signs of corruption. They wanted purity, not politics. They even started calling non-Wahhabist Muslims infidels. Awkward. In 1927, they rebelled. It was like your startup's original team turning on the CEO for selling out. Ibn Saud, ever the strategist, crushed the rebellion by 1929, proving that even holy warriors can't beat a man with British bullets and Bedouin brains. With the dust settled, Ibn Saud merged his conquests, the kingdoms of Nejd and Hejaz, into a single entity, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, named after his family. It was the ultimate flex. Imagine founding a country and naming it after yourself. That's not just legacy, that's legend. Then came the moment that changed everything. In 1938, American geologists struck oil in eastern Saudi Arabia. Not just a little, more accessible reserves than all of North and South America combined. The desert was no longer just sand, it was liquid gold. The Arabian-American Oil Company, Aramco, discovered 5 major fields, and by 1947, daily output exceeded 400,000 barrels. The Saudis went from camel caravans to Cadillacs in a decade. During World War II, Ibn Saud remained officially neutral, though he leaned toward the Allies. Near the war's end, he met with Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt aboard a U.S. Navy cruiser. They talked oil, politics, and probably how hot it was in the desert. This meeting laid the foundation for Saudi-American cooperation, a relationship that would shape global energy and Middle Eastern geopolitics for decades. Ibn Saud died in 1953, aged 78. Leaving behind a unified kingdom, a booming oil industry, and dozens of sons, each with ambitions as vast as the desert. His successor, King Saud, was charming, chatty, and beloved at dinner parties. But when it came to politics, especially dealing with Israel and Egypt's socialist firebrand Nasser, he was seen as weak. Enter Prince Faisal, the sharp, reform-minded brother. Backed by the religious elite and armed with a fatwa, he staged a royal coup. Saud was forced to abdicate and went into exile, where he spent his twilight years broadcasting anti-Faisal rants on Radio Cairo. Family reunions were probably tense. King Faisal was a whirlwind of reform. He modernized education, abolished slavery, introduced television, which sparked protests, and fought socialism like it was a personal vendetta. He believed pan-Islamism was the antidote to Arab nationalism and communism. In 1973, during the Arab-Israeli War, Faisal made his boldest move. He cut off Saudi oil exports to the West in protest of their support for Israel. The result? The 1973 oil crisis, skyrocketing prices, and Faisal becoming a hero across the Muslim world. He was named Time magazine's Man of the Year in 1974, but his reign ended tragically in 1975 when he was assassinated by his nephew, reportedly in revenge for the death of his brother during the TV protests. The assassin was publicly beheaded in Riyadh. Faisal's brother Khalid took the throne, overseeing rapid modernization and closer U.S. ties. He was followed by Fahd, then Abdullah, and now King Salman, each a son of Ibn Saud, each steering the kingdom through oil booms, regional wars, and global diplomacy. Today, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, grandson of Ibn Saud, stands poised to become the first of the third generation to rule. With his ambitious Vision 2030, he's reshaping Saudi Arabia for a post-oil future, mixing reform with controversy and making headlines faster than Aramco pumps barrels, before you ride off into the sunset. If you enjoyed this wild journey through the sands of history, from palm tree raids to oil-fueled empires, don't forget to follow us, subscribe, and smash that notification bell so you never miss another tale of intrigue, power, and desert drama. We've got more stories coming that are hotter than a Riyadh summer and juicier than a camel's gossip circle. Stay tuned, stay curious, and